Hello everyone. Today is Monday, June 27, 2022. I'm Crystal Dawn Hill, and I'm here to present a video to you called Things in Twin Flame Divine Partner Connection That Make Us Uncomfortable But Are Necessary, and Why They're Necessary. I have never done a video like this with bullet points other than the one that I did just a few days ago called the influence the stars have had on my journey. But I was very strongly guided to do this video, and I hope you'll find it informative, and I hope that you'll enjoy it and that it'll offer you insight and clarity on your connection. So, number one, distance. Why do so many twin flames experience that they are geographically separate from one another, or they have to endure an experience where they have to have distance between them? What I have found is that with my divine masculine and me, the fact that we have distance between us allows us to understand the power of our connection. I can't speak for him, but I know that for myself, I have oftentimes wondered, like, how in the world can I feel such love for someone that I've never even met in person? And when I meditate on that, it shows me that that's just how powerful this love is. That I've been in relationships with people, long-term relationships, marriages, and I loved every single person that I was in relationship with to some degree. But had I encountered those people online and never met them, I can't say that I would have experienced all that I've experienced with my divine masculine. And so if you've never met your twin in person, or if you have and then you eventually were separated by geographical distance, then you know what I mean when I talk about the power of this connection. Number two, silence. Why is silence in our connection necessary? This point is actually what prompted me to do this video, because my divine masculine has been silent with me, and it's really thrown me for a loop, because in the beginning he was just as enthusiastic about the connection as I was. We exhibited that enthusiasm in different ways, but we both felt the same level of enthusiasm and anticipation about where the connection was going. And so when he went completely silent on me, it just completely baffled me. And I don't remember the circumstances under which I came to this realization, but it kind of came to me out of left field, and I was like, wow. The silence is necessary to show us the power of our love, not necessarily the connection, because that's what the distance does, but the silence shows us the power of the love between us, because the love, the energy of love, is what facilitates the telepathy, the empathy, the astral visits. And if we were close in proximity that might have some impact, but the silence, I believe, has more of an impact, because when you're not outwardly communicating with each other, you have no choice but to tap into the internal connection in order to maintain the communication. And what I've found is that this really is more effective than verbal communication, because it doesn't leave room for misinterpretation. It doesn't leave room for ego. It doesn't leave room for anything that could cause any turmoil between the people, because all you're dealing with is the higher selves. So when it's just the higher selves communicating with each other, the communication's clear. It doesn't leave any room for guesswork. It's just very clear and concise, and it's all based on the love that you share for one another, and not anything to do with our human mind or our ego. Number 3, triggers. When I was making this list last night, I was trying to come up with some different points and see if I had enough to actually do a video about it, or if I was just going to do it in a post. And when I started meditating on different things that I've experienced that have made me uncomfortable, they started like coming at me like ping, ping, ping. So I'm like, okay, well, it looks like I'm going to have enough for a video. And triggers wasn't the third thing that I thought of. It was a little bit further down the list, but I put it as number 3 because it seems like it would be a good spot in the video to talk about it and get it out of the way so we don't have to think about it for the rest of the video. So, why are triggers necessary? I honestly can't say that I've figured it out completely, but what I've learned from the triggers that I've experienced is patience, compassion, and it sometimes puts me in his shoes, so that it kind of opens the door for more powerful empathy and understanding. And from the triggers that I've seen him experience from me, what I have felt has prompted him in the triggering is to take a step back and evaluate why the trigger happened, and give him an opportunity. And again, I can't speak for him. This is just what I was picking up on. Whether he would agree with this or whether this is actually what he experienced, I can't be for sure. But what I feel has happened with him is that he takes a step back and realizes that the trigger happened for his growth, and not because I had the intention of triggering him, or because I had anything to do with me. And the reason I feel that way, and the reason I feel confident in the accuracy of that, is because after he would take a step back and evaluate it, he would come back and want to talk again. That hasn't happened recently, but that happened a lot in the first year or 2 of our connection. Number 4, the intensity. Why do things have to be so intense with our divine partner or our twin flame? What I've learned from the intensity that I have felt in the connection is that it's been an indicator for me that I'm not ready for union. And he said to me early on that I wouldn't be able to handle if we were in physical proximity of each other. He didn't say it in those exact words, but that's what he was alluding to. And at first, I'm like, oh, yes, I can. Bring it on. But then when the intensity became uncomfortable, I began to understand where he was coming from. And I started noticing that I was gradually acclimating to his energy. So each time we would come back in and try to communicate, and we would be repelled again. I noticed that each time he would step back, or if I would, there's been occasions when I've reached back out to him as well. I've noticed that my energy was more leveled out. And so I believe that the reason for the intensity is to balance. And I don't remember if that's the reason I had written down. I didn't have a reason for intensity. I had balance as the reason for number 6, but we will get to that. So I think that's all I want to say about the intensity for right now. If I think of anything further as I go along the video, then I'll go back to that and cover that. Number 5, separation. Why do we have to be separated from the one that we love more than anyone in all of the cosmos? I believe it's for contrast. I believe it's to teach us gratitude and to not take the connection or the person or the love for granted. I believe that the reason that we have to be separated is to do whatever we need to do to prepare ourselves to be in union. And I believe that the separation gives us the space to be able to learn how to deal with numbers 1 through 4, first of all, and perhaps all of them, before we try to get into a bona fide permanent relationship. Every pair of twins has their own dynamic, they have their own experiences, and they have their own journey. And I'm sure that other pairs of twins have come across other reasons for separation, and whatever takes place in a divine connection is meant for that particular couple, for whatever they're slated to experience in their connection. And so I'm not saying that the reasons that I'm giving apply to everyone. I'm just saying that this is what I've experienced, and I believe that I'm meant to share this with other people in case they resonate, or if it gives them comfort or a sense of not being alone. Number 6, the push-pull. That's the point that I had balance written for the reason. And the reason that I believe that the push-pull offers balance is because it's like, for many years I've used the analogy of the teeter-totter, the seesaw, and that's because I had a very poignant vision about the seesaw when I was very young. And when you have two people on the opposite ends of the seesaw and they're seated at the very end of the seat, then when one of them pushes off the ground and goes up, the one on the opposite end is going to go all the way down, and it's going to be more abrupt and abrasive. But if those two people scoot closer and closer in to the center of the seesaw, then the seesaw is not going to have those extreme fluctuations of up down. It's going to be the space between the ground and as far up as the seesaw can go. It's going to be a shorter distance between the ground and the maximum height of the seesaw. And then if they scoot all the way into the center, then the seesaw is not going to move hardly at all because they don't have that much leverage on the ends of the seat. So that's the vision that I had, that I believe is a good illustration of how the push-pull functions to facilitate our balance. Because if we pull away, then that would be akin to the pushing off and throwing the other one on the opposite direction. But the more that we do this push-pull and the more uncomfortable that it is, the less that we do it. And the more that we realize that we can come into balance if we don't pull away as hard and put the tension on the cord that connects us. But if we just relax and allow the cord to be more, not as taut, but more flimsy, then it becomes more comfortable, and we can both kind of relax in the connection and be able to be more comfortable in that energy rather than it being so intense. Number 7, when our divine partner has a partner other than us. A lot of people talk about this, but I've not heard anyone talk about it in the way that I'm going to. I believe that the reason that we engage in other relationships other than with our divine partner is to help us filter out the energy of the divine connection. And it helps us acclimate to the energy in a way that is less intense and more comfortable for us. So I've known of this going on in relationships of other people that I know, and I know how uncomfortable it can be. My divine partner has been in other relationships other than with me. We've never been in a romantic relationship. We have only talked about the connection and about the dynamic that we share, but we've never engaged in any conversation about romance, other than he's clearly stated that we are not in a romantic relationship. But anyway, during those times that he was in other relationship, I've still felt the connection between us, but it was like, from my perspective, again, I can't speak for him, and I don't know if this is what he experienced, but to me, it felt like he was still participating in our connection, but with someone else who had a similar energy to me that was less intense and more tolerable. So I've seen him do a lot of his growth and clearing and transmuting through these other relationships. And what I found so fascinating, and I'm not sure if very many people have really gotten an opportunity to observe their divine partner as they engaged in another relationship, but I've been fortunate to still be able to take note of where he is in his journey. And what I've found is that he grows more quickly when he's in a relationship, and he's never talked to me about the feelings that he's had after the relationship ended. But I have gotten a very good sense that he's able to emotionally recover from them fairly well. Now, the most recent one, I can't be so sure, because I think that hit him more deeply than the other relationships that I've known him to be in since we met. but I think that the reason that he's able to recover from the hurt fairly easily is because I think that he has a deep knowing that there is that right person for him out there, and that he will eventually find the love that he's looking for. So basically, I believe that the purpose for twins and divine partners to be in relationship with people other than their partner or their twin is that it helps them to grow, it helps them to move through their journey more quickly, and it helps them to be able to experience the divine connection through a filter so that the energy isn't that intense from the twin themselves, and that it gives them more of a chance to gradually get accustomed to being in the energy of the divine connection. Number 8, and I'm not sure, the sun's coming in and it's very hard for me to see my screen, so I'm not sure if I'm blocking the board. I'm hoping that you'll be able to see all of the points that I've written on the board. So number 8, cut off from 5D connection. I've never experienced this until recently. And I have a theory about why it happens. And I've heard other people share their theories. And what I've heard other people say is that if one twin isn't experiencing the connection in 5D, then it's likely that the other twin is feeling more of the 5D energy in the connection. That very well may be true, and I guess I've gotten maybe a little bit of validation of that over the past couple of years, but I also believe that it's an indicator that you're more balanced and that you're becoming prepared to experience the energy of your true twin and no longer need to go through the filter of another soulmate or another person in your soul family that carries the twin energy that is of a lesser concentration than your own twin. That may have sounded a little confusing. I'm not sure. If I didn't quite make sense there, please feel free to ask questions or ask for clarity. But I'm going to move on so that I don't get too far off track. So I've only experienced this recently, and I almost can still feel his energy, but it feels more like it's in my physical reality rather than internally or energetically. And I'm very comfortable with it being that way because I don't feel the intensity. I don't feel the triggers. And I don't really even feel the distance. It feels like he's here with me. When I get up in the morning, I want to get 2 cups out of the cabinet to have coffee. It feels like, he's going to be having coffee with me. It's just, I sometimes catch myself talking out loud because it feels like he's right next to me. It's just so trippy. And as far as the triggers, when you're more balanced, you're not going to feel the triggers as much because you've done the work and you've done the acclimating to the energy, and you've done the clearing and the healing and the balancing. So you may still get triggered, but you're going to recognize it and you're going to know better how to deal with it and how to overcome it. Number 9, doubt and uncertainty. I honestly don't know if this has anything to do with the twins. I think that it has to do with the person's individual journey and how they cope when they encounter anything external that causes them to doubt their connection or to feel uncertain about it. I've encountered this a lot over the years, not just with my divine connection, but just with my own spiritual journey and the choices that I've made that are based on my spiritual journey. So, if you have doubt or uncertainty about your connection or about anything at all along your spiritual journey, just know that it's there for a purpose, just like everything has its purpose. And again, it's going to offer you the contrast of feeling 100% sure, so that it helps temper you and it helps you to appreciate and feel gratitude for the times when you do feel sure and you do feel certain. And I think that it also comes about to cause us to be aware of the fact that we can still have doubt, even though we feel so sure and we know the level of love that we're feeling in our heart for them. I think the doubt comes along to make us not question or turn the other way, but I think it can serve as a test to see just how devoted we are. And when it's your true person that you are truly meant to be with, no level of cynicism or skepticism or discouragement is going to take away that knowing feeling that you have inside of you, because there's nothing more powerful in all of the universe than love. And when you feel true love down deep inside your soul, and you know the person that love is attached to. And I think that the doubt and the uncertainty comes along to help be a gauge for you to see without a shadow of a doubt that really is your person. We know when we meet them, but as time goes on, or at least in my experience, as time has gone on, I've begun to doubt less and less and less of what it is, because that feeling never goes away. And I'm grateful for that. Number 10, the longing. I absolutely do not know why we feel this depth of longing inside of us. If anybody knows the answer, or if anyone has any theories, please, by all means, share your thoughts and ideas in the comments, or reach out to me on Facebook and send me a private message, because I've not been able to understand it. Sometimes it's a very pleasurable experience. Sometimes it's very painful. And what is more painful than when I feel it is when I can feel my divine masculine longing for the one that he's truly in love with. I don't know from his perspective if he feels like that's me. I don't know if that idea has ever occurred to him, but I know that he does feel the energy of the love between us. And when he's sad because of that feeling, when he's confused, when he's frustrated, when he's running and trying to hide from the pain, I've never experienced anything more excruciating in my whole life. And when the longing is pleasant or pleasurable, I pray that he's able to feel that feeling from me and that it uplifts him. And there's been times when I feel like it has, and there's been times when I've felt unsure about what was going on his end. And going back to number 8, being cut off in 5D, I think sometimes that happens because of this pain that we go through. And so that both twins aren't feeling the level of pain, so that the one that's feeling cut off can go about their everyday life and be in a normal, balanced energy and be able to exude that energy to the twin that's hurting. I know I've felt that between him and me going in both directions, and so that's my validation and my evidence of that, and I hope that you will find the validation and evidence that you need for whatever questions you have. And finally, number 11, the connection itself. Why do we experience this connection that we call twin flame and divine partnership? Why do we feel this? My answer: the purpose is for us to grow closer to God. I'm getting cold chills all over me. I don't know if it's because my back is to the air conditioner unit, or if it's because the Holy Spirit is confirming for me that I just gave the proper answer. Whatever the case may be, this has been my experience. And because of my spiritual journey and the close connection and relationship that I have tried to develop with God, that's been my experience. And the reason that I can say this with such assuredness and confidence is because when I met him, when I saw his picture for the first time, I felt like God had literally placed his essence inside of this man so that he, God, could experience a relationship with me from human to human. This is really deep. I could probably do a whole video on just this one topic, but for the sake of brevity, for just this particular conversation, I really, really feel like that's the whole baseline purpose for this dynamic. I also believe that it's a gift from God for us to experience this kind of love. I believe that it serves as evidence of the reality of God, because I've heard so many people say they didn't even believe in God until they met their twin flame, and then they knew that there had to be a God to have such a deep and profound and beautiful gift as this love. That is just a little bit of what I could say about that, and I'm not going to try to go on about it because I could just ramble all day long about everything that has indicated to me that that's the purpose of this connection. I'd love to hear your thoughts on why we experience the connection, or any of the points that I've made in this video today. And I always invite you to reach out with questions and comments and feedback. So thank you so much for listening. I wish you all the very best along your journey, and thank you for following along mine. Have a great day.